Okay, then let us move on to session 2. Professor Jae-hoon Lee from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies will be moderating the session under the title of Future of Renewable Energy and Natural Resources, Doors to the New Deal of Korea-Africa Cooperations. I'll hand over the microphone to the moderator, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. You can call me Jay. We have a very interesting session here because we're talking about the energy and then renewable energy as well as mineral resources. Thinking about this relationship of these three variables, shall we say, it creates a sort of a grand causality because one needs another and then B needs A and so on and so forth. So energy is a prerequisite to the industrialization which we aspire to achieve in the continents of Africa. Nevertheless, that it has been a vexing challenge as revealed recent energy crisis in South Africa. So here we have great speakers who will give us the analytical presentation of insight of this energy crisis, as well as what we in Korea and African continents can do in terms of supplement this energy mix that we have in Africa. So without further ado, let me ask these great presenters to introduce themselves briefly.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jared Lyons, and I represent a company called the Atlantis Special Economic Zone from Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Korean African Foundation, for the assistance to get here.
Good afternoon, the Excellency and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keung-gu Kim, professor from the KEPCO International Nuclear Graduate School, Kings. Until end of last year, I had worked in the Korea Atomic Energy Research Institute, and I involved in the developed a small modular reactor named SMART. So today, I'm going to introduce the SMART and propose some possible energy supply solution, carbon zero energy supply solution. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Jacob Kim from Hyoseong, whom just introduced and the return to Korea at last night from the South Africa. Today I will explain the battery energy storage system in South Africa and the transmission and substation business in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marit Kitao. I am the interim director of the African Minerals Development Center. It's a specialized agency of the African Union. I'll be talking mostly about minerals later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Korea Africa Foundation has set up a great flow of speakers here. First, Jared here will talk about this energy crisis and then what he has to face in his Atlantis Special Economic Zone. So Jared, if you're prepared, please let me hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So again, thank you very much for the kind invitation and for the opportunity to present to all of you today. I hope I'm audible for the translators who are translating. I do sometimes speak really quickly. So today I'm here to capture a little bit of what's going on in South Africa and how my company as a state-owned company, government-funded company, can play its part in making sure that we become a more resilient industrial economy in South Africa. So I need to start by quickly giving you a snapshot as to how the energy sector is structured in our country. So we are provided with energy by a single state-owned energy company. That company is responsible for generation, transmission, and distribution. and really traditionally was a single buyer model. So if you generated energy and you wanted to sell it, you had no choice but to sell it to the company called Eskom, which is the state-owned utility. This is fraught with problems at present, and the generation mix under control by Eskom looks like this on the screen at present. So we have 11 coal-fired power stations, 4 gas turbines, 2 pump storage facilities, 1 in the city I live in, and a nuclear station also in the city that I live in. And the block in the bottom of this picture represents 7 gigawatts of renewable energy coming from solar and wind, and all of that comes from the private sector. There's a huge but, and the but is the following. So of the 11 coal-fired power stations, around 30% of them are reaching end of life. So we have problems with our coal-fired energy. Our gas turbines are currently running as base load using diesel. They were not designed to do so. They were designed to act as peaking stations. Our nuclear station in the Western Cape is currently undergoing maintenance, and one of our hydro facilities is also undergoing maintenance. So of the 48 gigawatts in use, it says on the top of my slide less than 35 gigawatts is operational. But I'm sure Jacob King on my left can attest that it's a heck of a lot less than 35 gigawatts. I think we're currently sitting at 20 gigawatts in operation. So less than 50% of what we have the ability to produce is actually operational. So what does that mean? That means that we are experiencing a phenomenon called load shedding. Okay, and I'll go into detail a little bit later about what load shedding is. So what is the Atlantis Special Economic Zone? Why am I sitting here speaking to you about this? Quite simply, we are an incentivized industrial park, and we comprise 3 large pieces of land totaling 94 hectares. The land in the uppermost part of the picture is Zone 1, in the center of the picture is Zone 2, and down at the bottom is Zone 3. We are currently in the process, in fact, 2 weeks ago, we started putting the civils into the ground for Zone 1, and our job is to promote manufacturing in the Western Cape and City of Cape Town. Why do we think that this energy crisis that I've just spoken to you about presents itself as an opportunity? Well, quite simply, if I can give you some context, in the 2 COPs ago, COP26, the Glasgow Climate Pact indicated that many European users of equipment and services have to use the greenest versions of those equipments and services, i.e. if you're buying solar panels, you need to buy solar panels that are manufactured in the greenest way possible. If you're buying a car, the same applies, etc. There's also supply chain pressures and weaknesses that have been revealed with COVID-19, and now most recently the war in Ukraine. Many companies that are located in traditional manufacturing hubs like China are now looking to diversify and locate elsewhere because it mitigates against the risk of being in one centralized location being affected by supply chain areas. Then a little bit more on the load shedding. I just want to add further salt to this and explain a bit more detail what it actually means. So currently, by the end of last month, April 2023, we were sitting at 85% of all of the amount of gigawatts shed for the whole of last year, the whole of the year 2022. 85% of that was shed in the first 4 months of this year. So the problem is not going away. In fact, it's quite clearly getting worse. But if you look at the 2 graphs on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that it presents a bit of an opportunity. So the amount of lithium-ion cells and batteries imported into our country in the period of January 2022 to December 2022 was around $600 million US. Okay? Now that is a staggering amount of solar importations in lithium cells, and you can see that the vast amount of that happened in Q3 and Q4 of 2022. Another point, if you look at the graph below, is that in only 2 months, January and February of 2023, a total of 1 gigawatt of private sector energy was registered with our national energy regulator. To put that into perspective, in 2022, for the entire 12-month period, 1.6 gigawatts were registered. So in 2 months, 1 gigawatt this year. Previous year, the entire 12-month period was 1.6 gigawatts. And then if you want to compare that to the year 2021, only 86 megawatts were registered. So you can see that in this time of crisis, there's vast opportunity which has raised its head above the water, and that opportunity is in the energy generation space. So what do we offer as an SEZ, as a special economic zone? Quite simply, we offer infrastructure, and we as a government, and my ambassador's in the room, so I'm scared to say this incorrectly, but the government provides infrastructure to manufacturers, and in this room, Korean manufacturers, who are keen to establish a manufacturing facility in South Africa, more specifically in the Western Cape, Cape Town, or Atlanta Special Economic Zone. The zone is incentivized. We are a green zone. We provide you with that green manufacturing platform that global purchasers and shareholders require of you. And we do that by implementing solar on top of rooftops, by implementing complementary sized battery storage systems for each investor, etc. So during this process, we've obviously engaged, and please excuse me, I have to go a bit fast because we're short on time. But during this process of developing this industrial park, we engage multiple manufacturers. And each of these manufacturers list a bunch of things that they require. You heard the previous speaker who established in Ethiopia list a few reasons as to why he did so. But often we're confronted with the top 3 reasons to locate, or the top 3 things that people are looking at when locating in a location. It's the access to affordable and competitively priced labor force, and skilled obviously, a cheap and reliable electricity supply, and cheap real estate. So what do we offer as the Special Economic Zone? Whoopsie, sorry, wrong button, apologies. We have affordable and competitively priced labor in our country. We have cheap, relatively speaking, electricity when you compare our prices globally. We have very cheap real estate inside of our Atlanta Special Economic Zone because we can compete at rates 50% lower than market rates, so very significantly priced. However, the big thing that we're battling with is the reliable electricity supply. And I've spoken already about how we aim to achieve that by implementing solar panels, battery energy storage, etc., on top of the rooftops. What are we doing at a regional level, though? This is, I'm rushing through, this is my last slide. Regionally, the city of Cape Town, the region where we find ourselves in, have embarked on essentially 3 programs to try and reduce the impacts of this shortage of energy to our manufacturers. The first is a 200 megawatt independent power producer procurement program. That program is technology agnostic. They accept nuclear, for example, as a potential. But the key driver in that program is the cost of electricity per kilowatt hour, which makes technologies like nuclear, coal, LNG, etc., a little bit harder to compete with the likes of solar and wind. So potentially not the best program to meet the demands of our energy crisis. The second is a 500 megawatt dispatchable tender, which was released just a few weeks ago, and that should close around September of this year. Also technology agnostic, but more suited to solar and to hydrogen and to LNG and things like that. And then lastly, the city is developing its own embedded generation facility, solar facility of around 7 megawatts. Yes, I know that's very small, but it's more about learning and understanding how do we do this so that the city can impart that knowledge to the private sector and make sure that the private sector is well enabled to roll out further infrastructure or further electricity generation. So yeah, I've touched on what Atlantis offers, but one of the key things I didn't touch on is potentially a large-scale energy storage solution. We are partnering with a company called Green Cape down in Cape Town, and Green Cape is a technology agency, or a cluster agency rather, which has the ability to access multiple technology providers and help us design a specific energy solution, which we can then provide to our manufacturers who are locating in the SEZ. Lastly, we aim to achieve all of these interventions by leveraging strategic partnerships. One of the partnerships we have is with the Korean Africa Foundation. We have an MOU with them. And this really does allow us access to forums like this, platforms like this, to be able to engage with investors or potential investors in the room who would like to leverage the opportunities I've listed in this presentation. We have strategic relationships with investment promotion agencies locally, but we are also owned by the Western Cape government and the city of Cape Town. So fully state-owned, and we've been around for 3 years. And I would encourage you to look at our annual reports because we're a very reputable organization to engage with. But thank you for that. It was a very rushed presentation. I tried to be in the 10 minutes. I was a little over. But thank you very much for your time and listening to me. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you very much for understanding this time constraint that we have. Gerald's presentation leads us to an inevitable conclusion that the green and renewable energy is a sort of an alternative that we can have. So to that matter, we have a speaker, Professor Keun-Gu Kim, will also tell us some sort of an alternative to these vexing challenges that we face, not only in South Africa, but in Africa as a one continent as a whole. So, Professor Kim, if you're ready, please, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Lee. My name is Keun-Gu Kim, the professor of the King's. Today, I'm going to talk about the SMART. SMART is the name of the SMR, which was developed in Korea. And I'm going to propose some optimal carbon-free energy solution integrated with SMR and renewable energy. This is my talk, the outline. At first, I'm going to briefly introduce the SMART, and then I'm going to talk about the carbon-free energy solution. SMART is the advanced integral reactor for dual purpose, such as electricity supply and seawater desalination, or electricity supply and district heating system. The standard size of SMART is designed with 365 megawatt of thermal energy. With this thermal energy, we can produce the 110 megawatt of electricity or 100 megawatt of electricity and 40,000 tons of fresh water or 100 megawatt of electricity and some large areas district heating hot water supply. When we developed the SMART technology, we have 3 important goals. The first one is the enhanced safety, and we want to improve the economics, and we want the upgrade operability. We achieved these goals by implementing the design innovation and the modularization and some kind of the operation upgrade. SMART technology is a sensible mixture of the current experienced PWR technology and many innovative concepts based on some already well-experienced PWR technologies, such as the pure technology and the reactivity control system. And we implemented many innovative concepts, such as integral reactor concept and passive safety system concept and the modularization concept and the fully digitalized concept. To develop the nuclear power plant or nuclear reactor, the technology validation is very, very important. So from the beginning of the technology development, we established the comprehensive technology validation program. So we performed many different kinds of the tests and experiments to validate the technology implemented in the smart reactor. So up to now, we already carried out more than 50 different kinds of the tests and experiments. SMART is an integral reactor. This is one of the major characteristics different from the conventional PWR technology. The left-hand side shows the current operating the PWR. The major components, such as the reactor, steam generator, coolant pump, are connected with a large connecting pipe like this. This is a large connecting pipe. So breaking of this large connecting pipe is one of the most severe postulated accident in the nuclear power plant. But in the SMART, all the major components, we installed all the major components in the single reactor vessel assembly. So we don't need this kind of the large connecting pipe, and we can eliminate the postulated accident, this large piping breaking accident. So in SMART, we don't need very complicated safety system to protect reactor core. Very simplified and robust safety system will be enough to protect the reactor core. We performed many different kinds of the tests and experiments to validate the SMART technology, fuel, major component, some hydro experiment. And finally, we constructed the large-scale integral test facility, which is the world unique and the largest test facility for integral reactor. The high scale is 1:1 real scale, and the volume scale is 1/49. And we also performed all major design-based events using this SMART integral test facility. And we also manufactured the main control room mock-up system to perform the operator action simulation experiment. This slide shows the SMART plant layout drawing. We already finished all the plant design. And as you can see in this slide, the SMART building consists of the three main buildings: reactor building, turbine building, and the compound building. This slide summarizes some advantage of SMART. SMART is a very, very safe nuclear power plant, at least 100 times safer than the current operating nuclear power plant. And the SMART technology is already validated through the experiment and licensed. And the SMART may have some comparative economics. And all the major equipment suppliers, we cooperate with many other facilities to develop the major equipment. So SMART is ready to deployment. From now, I'm going to talk about the carbon-free energy solution. As you know, there are two different types of renewable energy sources, such as the intermittent energy source, such as solar, wind, and tide, and the non-intermittent and renewable energy source, such as the geothermal, hydros. So non-intermittent, like geothermal and hydro, we can supply the energy when we need. But the intermittent, the renewable energy source, we cannot supply when we need. This is solar and wind depend on the environment, external factors. So we have to, this renewable energy source has the intermittence. To overcome this intermittence of the renewable energy, we must equip energy storage capacity. The required energy storage capacity is depend on how much of the share of renewable energy in the grid. If the grid penetration of the renewable energy is very low, the required energy storage capacity is very low or minimum. So up to 30% of the grid penetration, you don't need to energy storage capacity for renewable energy. But as you can see in this figure, the grid penetration go up to increase to the 100%. You need dramatically increased huge amount of the energy storages. Let's look at the UK case study. The average demand is United Kingdom's average demand is around 30 gigawatt electricity, but the required storage capacity to achieve the 100% of the grid penetration, they need 43 terawatt hours, which is equivalent to the 60 days of news. So you need a very huge amount of the energy storage to achieve the carbon-free energy solution with the only renewable energies. This is one of the examples for carbon-free energy solution combination with renewable energy and SMR like a smart. And we have to pay attention to this. SMR can supply not only the electricity, but also the high energy steam. So we can use the electricity and high thermal energy to generate the nuclear hydrogen. So nuclear hydrogen, this hydrogen is one of the option of the energy storage system in the grid. And we can also supply the seawater desalination, thermal energy seawater desalination, and district heating, hot energy. This is the advantage of the combination of the smart and the combined energy solution. One of the advantages is the cost comparativeness. So we can minimize the electric storage capacity, so we can easily achieve the carbon-free energy solution. So smart is ready to deployment. All technology is already validated, and the smart will provide the optimum carbon-free energy solution. Before finishing my presentation, I'm just to briefly introduce our institute. Our institute is the special institute to educate the nuclear technology. So we are welcome to the foreign students, especially who want to introduce this nuclear power technology. As you can see in this map, a lot of the African countries dispatch to the student to our school. So when you dispatch to your student, we ensure to educate your student to be a nuclear expert. Of course, all the tuition and the living expenses free of charge. So please dispatch a lot of students to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kim. Actually, he enlightened all of us with an alternative to this green energy source which can enrich the energy mix perhaps in South Africa. So we may talk about this continuously. And then let me introduce Mr. Kim, who will be taking us to the causes of this current energy crisis in South Africa, as well as the solutions to that, to ameliorate these conditions that South Africa faces. Mr. Kim?
Good afternoon. This is Jacob Kim from Hyoseong, just whom introduced. Today, I am very grateful, appreciate to have been invited to explain the African power grid business and the first step toward the carbon neutrality. First of all, I will briefly explain the general introduction of the Hyoseong, and I will explain the background and the progress and the expected effect for the battery energy storage system in South Africa. And finally, I will explain the other the African country business. The Hyoseong, just since 1962, Hyoseong heavy industry have been successfully doing the power business sector in the world. we Hyosung supplied the power equipment, exclude the transformer, switchgear, and the equipment and power grid system and service in the world. In recently, using the power electronic technology, we are very focusing the battery energy storage system, STACOM, to compensate our reactive power and high voltage DC system. So for our reference in domestic, the battery energy system business reached almost 3 gigawatt hours have been delivered since the 2009. And for the foreign business, we are already reached the 400 megawatt hour has been delivered since 2012, including the UK, the South Africa, and the Malaysia, some countries. So in recently, the South Africa has facing the energy crisis. The main reason is the aging of the coal-fired power plant. That is the average age of the ESCOM power sector is 35 years, and only about the 6% of this installed capacity is available. That's one thing. And second thing, it's high dependence of the coal-fired power plant. Therefore, every day 5 and 10 hours of the load sharing is occurring, and the utility ESCOM forecast this load sharing will continue until the 2027. So ESCOM is considering the renewable energy and the battery energy storage system to supply the electricity and improve his reliability and the efficiency. This shows the basic tender process of the World Bank and the AFDB. In actually the South Africa ESCOM project is by fund the World Bank and the AFDB. Everybody as know the basic the procedure except for the local practice. For the business of the South Africa, we have to considering the one thing is the life cycle cost for the 20 years, including the battery augmentation and the operating and maintenance procedure. And second thing, the government requests the minimum 20% SDLNI. SDLNI is the social development, localization, and industry. And also, they request 30% NIPP, National Industry Participation Program. So that means that we also have to considering the cooperation with the local partner and local industry. And also during the evaluation, they are very seriously considering the technical level, including the basic design and detailed execution plan. So that means the South Africa utility and government considering the deciding the main contract with the technical and the commercial balance. This sheet shows the real project in South Africa ESCOM project. In last year, they already selected the main contract of the package 1, package 2, and package 3, approximately 700 megawatt hour. So we Hyosung received the 2 package 2 and package 3 project, approximately 400 megawatt hour system. And also they are prepared the tendering and the evaluation for the package 4, that is 140 megawatt hour within this year in phase 1. And they also prepared the phase 2 business, almost 700 megawatt hour. And parallelly, the government side also announced the ES Battery Energy Storage System IPP project based on the tariff price. This showed the progress of the best project of the Hyoseong in South Africa. Due to the third-party issue of the package 2, package 3 is getting ahead approximately 2.5 months and will complete in this May. And the package 2 project also started the installation of all of the equipment and will complete of the middle of the July. Yes. So according to the increase of the renewable energy from the 12% in 2021 to more than 26% by the 2030, South Africa, the best project will support the South African implement of the energy transition to renewable energy by the securing the stability and the flexibility of the power grid system. And also, that's the not only profit of the ESCOM, but also but also reduce of the carbon emission and expanding the green generation. The Hyoseong has been the expanding of the power grid network system to the other African country. Recently, last year, we started the new project in Ethiopia, including the 400 kilometers transmission and 6 north substation to the increase of the effectivity and the reliability there the grid network system. And also using our experience in the Mozambique, Tanzania, Namibia. So we are looking for the expand our business and hopefully contribute to the electrical network grid system in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Actually, Mr. Kim enhanced our understanding in causes of this rolling blackout situation in South Africa. And then he also analyzed the causes of it along with Mr. Lyon's presentation here. So we understand this one better this time. Now, as we all know, Africa possesses these minerals which are required for the creating the ecosystem for the renewable energy sources. So that Korea Africa Foundation has invited very pertinent person to talk about this mineral, which Africa possesses in a mountain variety, cannot be surpassed by other continents. So, Wislet, now it's your turn.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to thank the Korea Africa Foundation for inviting the African Minerals Development Center. My outline is simple, but since we don't have much time, I will go through quickly. As you just mentioned, renewable energy requires strategic green minerals that are found in Africa. And I'll briefly talk about the demand for these minerals and Africa's endowment. And particularly, I would like to focus on the Africa Mining Vision, a vision that was actually developed in 2009. It was 14 years ago. That's why the Africa Minerals Development Center was created, to implement the vision of the Africa Mining Vision. I'll also quickly talk about Africa's position in the battery and electric vehicle supply chain, and talk about our African Green Mineral Strategy, which is in the process, and also how we can, Korea and Africa can collaborate on this very briefly. So just to put it in perspective, these are the minerals, the green technologies require all these minerals. People don't realize when we say renewable energy, they don't realize that it requires all of this, whether it's for solar technology, for wind technology, and especially for electric vehicles and energy storage. We remember these from our chemistry classes back in the days, but really, all of these are needed. Renewable energy requires minerals. Sometimes we say minerals are a bit dirty, but it requires to be a little bit dirty to become clean, so to speak. So all of these are needed. And these are the these are the scenarios by the International Energy Agency, which predicts that if we, because of this decarbonization agenda, of the global decarbonization agenda, we require at least 6 times more of all these minerals here: lithium, cobalt, manganese, nickel, phosphate, iron, graphite, aluminum, and copper, which they're called critical minerals for everyone, but for us we call them strategic because they are in our soil. Critical because of the rarity for the others, but for us they are strategic and green because we want to see this as an opportunity. So for Africa, if you see this map, we have significant of these strategic minerals. Here we are, just the reserves. We have 30% of the world reserves, but also all of the others are, even at the production level. Let me go here. If you see cobalt, copper, graphite, lithium, manganese, DRC obviously for cobalt dominating in the sector, and it will require, the demand will be more than 460%, just to give an example, a perspective. Copper might not be that critical. Graphite, which Madagascar, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, Madagascar, Mozambique, and South Africa, and Tanzania, sorry, for graphite. Lithium, well, in this we say Zimbabwe, but currently there are so many other countries that have lithium, especially Nigeria, Gabon, and all others. Manganese, South Africa has significantly, and all other countries. So what is the Africa Mining Vision? This Africa Mining Vision that I said was actually developed in 2009. And even at that time, there was a commodity price boom, and African countries were not really benefiting from it in the sense of they didn't grow as a country. And all this boom has not translated to the benefits of the people, the citizens themselves. That's why it was crafted in 2009. It looks at the mining sector in the whole value chain, not just the first round, which is the extraction part of it. So it looks at it from the revenue side, of course. How do we ensure that there's the right taxation, the right revenue management? What are the policies required to make sure that it translates to development? We also look at the geology itself, the geological mining and information system, which is important because you need to know what you have under your soil in order to bargain when there are investors, but also to have a keen understanding. So we have a whole section on geological mineral information systems in our center as well. The third one is governance. There were mentioned about governance issues, accountability, because of it's a very how do you say, capital-intensive sector that really requires a lot of management of assets, and also we need to have the communities in those areas to benefit as well, especially women, and there has to be equitable distribution of benefits. The other one is about artisanal small-scale mining. As some of you that have worked in Africa know that it's a huge sector, the artisanal small-scale mining in Africa. And mostly, what is the essence of the Africa mining vision is to say that it needs to be diversified and linked to the other sectors of the economy. It has to be competitive and linked. Otherwise, if you just do the raw material export, we'll not get the value that we need. Even if we get that from the taxation, sometimes it goes through illicit financial flows, it goes to other, it's not enough. We really need to go into the other market, the value addition and the industrialization aspect, which the lady from AFCFTA was mentioning, linking it to the car manufacturing and in general, as also the Korean was saying, 75% is just raw material extraction, but we need to move forward to the value addition part. And of course, the last part we look at is capacity building and human institutional capacity, skills. With all of this, of course, we need. And I think this is where the value added of Korea will come. So our center is there to implement what we call the vision. So we want to create a transparent, equitable, and optimal exploitation of mineral resources. We want to become a center of excellence for harnessing mineral resources. And our main objective, basically, is to coordinate the implementation around the 55 member states and make sure that we have a coordinated approach. So our business model is to provide advisory services, technical support, and also leverage with our partners in order to do that. Sometimes we go regionally, sometimes we go by country. We develop knowledge products, and for instance, if we engage with Korea, we'll have some packages that we can offer to our member states. So I just want to understanding this battery and electric vehicle supply chain. It was mentioned, some of it. Right now, Africa stands at the first two. The first two is the extraction and the very little value added, market value. It's really, this is the Bloomberg study that was done, and there's another study that was undertaken with UNECA as well that shows that there is, if you want to capture, the precursor market is at 270 billion right now. But right now, Africa is only at the 11 billion market, just exporting raw material. If you just do a little bit of value adding, you add 44, you come to 44 billion. And then if you go to the precursor, you get at least 270 billion. That's where DRC and Zambia are at right now. They want to have a manufacturing of battery precursor. But why not go all the way to the battery itself? As you can see, some of the challenges that were mentioned by our colleagues are electricity and others, but that can be overcome. For instance, for DRC, there's the Inga Dam. But there's always solutions there. And the Bloomberg study has shown that there's cost and emissions advantage of localizing industry in Africa. So every aspects are there. There's the risk perception that needs to be addressed as well. And to link it to the automotive sector, right now in Africa, the low-hanging fruit is the 2- and 3-wheelers, the small, but why not have the whole automotive sector in Africa and get, my sister from AFCFTA was saying only 1 million cars are manufactured in Africa. We could really go there if we have local sourcing of batteries there. Why not for the future? So we are developing what we call the African Green Minerals Strategy. It is led by the African Development Bank, but we are also very much involved in this. So basically, we would like to move away from this raw material extraction and go to the value addition part. That's the main. Of course, we have to take care of we need to have the skills, the people and the technological capacity, and we have to link it through the AFCFTA to the value chain. And also, of course, we are aware of the environmental and social responsibilities that we have. So our core minerals are a bit different from the critical minerals. There are some overlaps, but these are the ones that we are considering because we think they are strategic for Africa, not necessarily critical because we have them. And we have also mapped, this is in our strategy, mapped where they are and how we can really be strategic about acquiring them. And so for Korea, I mean, I don't have specific, but I think I mentioned them. because South Korea is trying to secure this, and we are trying to and they are trying also to diversify away. Of course, China is the big one. In order to diversify away from China or from any others, we need to have really good win-win partnerships based, and I'm very encouraged that you are also thinking we should diversify away from raw material export, because that's the only way Africa can benefit if we add value. So we get into that, and you talked about your technology, your skills transfer, and we say not only cheap labor, but you also have potential for potential training skills, and then all other that you can offer. Thank you so much.
Okay, that was Dr. Kito from African Union. Actually, she concluded everything that I had to say in terms of the African-Korean collaboration and then cooperation. Actually, all these presenters, excellent presenters, told us where we can forge our cooperation between Korea and Africa. Actually, Korea recently made itself available for the specific factors of production, such as technology and capital. So now it is our turn to seek the pertinent areas, and then pertinent areas to support Africa to secure these energy sources, and then to change perhaps the structure of the energy mix. So actual plan was that we had a Q&A session. Nevertheless, that today's function doesn't end here. I think, and I believe that it continues. So unfortunately, that the Q&A section will not be administered today. Nevertheless, that Korea Africa Foundation will, I understand, they make this contact address of these excellent speakers available in their website, or you may call them if you have any questions or discussions. And then Korea African Foundation will definitely, I believe, will provide another opportunity to continue our discussions of today. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening and for your excellent participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Please give another big hand to our moderator and the speakers for their contribution to the session. Okay, as mentioned earlier, all presentation materials, you can have an access to them via QR code on the backside of your nameplate for your information. With that, we conclude the first day of the 2023 Korea-Africa Business Summit. We would like to extend our gratitude once again to all the participants for being engaged in the discussions and also informative presentations. And tomorrow, we will begin the second day of the Business Summit with a keynote speech starting at 2 o'clock sharp right here in the very same venue, and that will be followed by session 3 and 4. And additionally, we kindly ask all the participants to empty the venue for de-rigging and the setup of the next dinner event so that we can ensure the safety of all participants. Your cooperation is highly appreciated. So this rounds out the first day of 2023 Korea-Africa Business Summit. Please have a safe trip back. And once again, let me give you a short announcement. We should be able to de-rig and to set up the next event on this stage. So we'd like to kindly ask our participants to empty the venue as soon as possible so that it can ensure your safety. Thank you.